Why are you late, Brian? Did you miss the bus again?
I did not miss it too much. I would just rather walk, and I don't think it really missed me because a bus cannot have feelings.
Brian, today we are going to review everything you need to know about abstract language versus literal language. Do you get my point?
I did not think you gave me one. If you did, I may have lost it. Could you try giving me another point?
We created a list of examples last time about idioms that use abstract and literal language. Remember, we talked about the phrase barking up the wrong tree and the different ways it could be interpreted?
With all due respect, Mr. Benton, you did most of the talking and should take the credit, sir. I simply listened.
You are absolutely right, Brian. Last week you did a great job of listening and absorbing this information. I rather enjoy when I can tell that you have opened your ears.
They are pretty much always open, sir. I have quite honestly never seen them closed, Mr. Benton. Except for when I got my ears pierced and the man told me not to take the earring out or else the hole may close up.
I would like to give you a quick piece of advice that you may use for the rest of your life. This will help you in both school and in life with the way that you treat people. You really shouldn't ever question a compliment like the one I just gave you. Remember, the way you accept a compliment is just as important as the way you give one, Brian.
But why am I supposed to say thank you to somebody if they have not really given me anything at all? I am just used to liking something on Facebook. That is sort of like thanking somebody for a compliment, isn't it?
Never mind that. How about we take a few minutes to settle in? Why don't you go take your seat?
Just let me know where you want me to take my seat to and I will gladly bring it there.
I did not mean for you to physically take it anywhere, Brian. Just to sit in it. Let's get back to business.
I thought we were going to be talking about abstract language, Mr. Benton. Not business, right? Mrs. Swinson is the person who has been tutoring me for my business class. I am afraid that I may get confused.
Don't worry, we are still learning about abstract language, and at this rate may be doing so through the next presidency. Now let's examine how that phrase, barking up the wrong tree, could be both abstract and literal language.
Why would anybody in their right mind want to bark at a tree, Mr. Benton? That's just weird.
I am actually glad you asked such a poignant question, Brian. Why would one even want to bark up at a tree? What purpose would it even serve? Are there two different definitions for the word bark? Let's break down the phrase academically.
Well, if you were a dog, you would definitely want to bark at a tree, especially if there was a cat in the tree. Dogs really hate cats and would be angry if there was one up a tree. Dogs really aren't good enough climbers and might bark out of frustration.
First of all, Brian, you are a human being and abstract and literal language only applies to animals that can speak words and understand their meaning. We do not bark, and we certainly do not bark at trees.
My cat was in a tree once. She got stuck in that tree for a really long time. I always think, why can't she just run down the tree if she ran all the way up? We had to call the fire department.
You are not a dog, and you are not a cat. This should not be this difficult to understand. Now, where was I?
You were right over there, sir. Pretty much right where you are standing right now, Mr. Benton. Since we have not moved very much since we have been talking, I think you are right on the mark.
Moving on, what would be the abstract meaning of barking up the wrong tree? I don't want to overload your brain, so you may want to think about it for the next half hour and get back to me when you have thought things through and can really see the difference between the words used and what they actually mean.
I think I have an idea. Maybe since you would be barking up the wrong tree, you would try to find a better tree to bark up. That might solve the problem. It is always best if you find something that is a better fit.
Let's go over this again, Brian. You are not actually barking. The word has different meanings. This is what I have been trying to explain to you. That is the example of abstract language.
Okay, Mr. Benton, I think I am starting to get it.
You see, Brian, Barking up the wrong tree in this case actually means you might have your nose in somebody else's business. Or you may find out something you do not want to know at all.
I think I understand, but I don't think anybody should put their nose on somebody else's property. It not only is impolite, but it is the leading cause of spreading germs.
You are not literally putting your nose anywhere, Brian. It's an example of literal versus abstract figures of speech, just like barking up the wrong tree. You are not actually thinking of somebody barking at a tree or placing their nose on another person. These words refer to different actions entirely. Brian, I can see that it is starting sinking a bit. Are you starting to make some sense of abstract versus literal language? Let's go, Brian. I know that it is a difficult subject to grasp, and I have been trying to explain this to you in every way possible. I think it's fair to say you really need to start picking it up. Agreed?
Yes, sir. I do agree. But I have to be perfectly honest. I really have no idea what you want me to pick up. Did I drop something and make a mess? I don't think I did, sir.
Why don't we just stop for today? I can see that you are, how should I put this, mentally drained. I think it is time to wrap up.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Benton. I cannot believe me get to wrap things. I love presents. And so does my cat.
There are no presents, Brian. Why in God's name would you even think that you would receive any sort of positive reinforcement for the intelligence you just displayed? Let's just see if you can draw any conclusion from what we just discussed.
I did not draw a picture, sir, but I will if you would like me to. After we draw this conclusion, can we color it in? Can it be in marker?
How about we just forget about that altogether? I really am doing my best to paint a better picture for you, Brian.
I think you did a great job, Mr. Benton. You don't have to feel like you need to paint anything for me. You don't even have a brush. Besides that fact that it could get really messy.
All right, we really need to kick it into gear.
This probably is not the time or the place to kick anyone, sir. Can we get back to talking about abstract language, Mr. Benton? I think you may need to relax a little bit.
You are starting to push it. I am beginning to get aggravated. Believe me, you do not want to push it with me.
I never pushed anything, Mr. Benton, and you are a really tall guy who I am pretty sure works out consistently. Judging by your size and signature fitness keychain, you probably are well versed in mixed martial arts. And I really don't want to kick anything. I am not a violent person.
How about you wipe that smile off your face, Brian? You are being disrespectful. That is it. We are done. Do you have the time?
I think I have enough time. I never really feel rushed. I like to take my time. Don't you ever get the feeling that if you check the clock too much, whatever you are doing seems to take forever?
Wow, I cannot believe that it is already 4 o'clock. We went over our time again.
Mr. Benton, we never went over anything, and I don't think either of us have come close to jumping. Not even once.
Just hurry up, Brian. We are done for the day and you need to catch your bus. Make sure you tell your parents to give me a ring. We have a lot to discuss.
All right, Mr. Benton, but I have to tell you that due to the recent recession, my family does not have a lot of money, so I am not positive that they can afford to give you any sort of jewelry. I will try my best to convince them. Have a great weekend, Mr. Benton.
Did that just really happen?